I'm going to be reading my book, The Girl with the Serpent's Eye. Chapter 1, The Hidden Eye. In the shadows of a crumbling world, where the sky was streaked with smoke, the air thick with conflict and hatred, I'm only 12 years old. And once beautiful lands were reduced to battlegrounds and tainted with blood. Cities had been caught in the crossfire, the people fleeing. The humans and giant snakes, known as serpents, were locked in a war that seemed to have no end. That was how my parents died. These lands used to be filled with magic, but the mages, wizards, and warlocks all left these lands, terrified of the serpents. The serpents are now the only magic left. They didn't mean to intimidate the magic people of these lands. It only happened by mistake. I used to live peacefully with my human mom and serpent dad. My mom had a human friend that she always called N. I never found out what her real name was, but I don't care. N would visit us once in a while. I can still remember the day I lost them, just like it was yesterday. I was only 8 when it happened. We were sitting in my room, and my dad had just made another of his dad jokes. Seriously, can't you tell any better jokes than these dad jokes? My mom teased him. Well, I am a dad, so these are just my kind of jokes, he said back to her. Then the door busted open and burst into tiny pieces. I remember staring, shocked, at N, who now had robotic parts, her legs, her arms, and even her mouth, all robotic. While we were all still in shock, her robotic hand reached out and grabbed my dad, chucking him around like a toy she didn't want anymore. Dad! Stop it, Anne, please! I know this isn't you! I shouted at her, trembling behind my bed. She didn't respond. She only looked my way, her eyes sad. But the hand opposite of the one still wildly swinging my dad around reached for me. And no, my mom shouted and dove in front of me. The hand slowed as it crashed into her, then retracted and reached around my mom again. Evelyn, run! My dad shouted at me. What about you? I cried out, tears streaming down my face. You heard your dad, didn't you? Run! My mom screamed at me. I rushed out through the window and turned back, trying to find a way to get them out safely with my little 8-year-old mind. I love you, Evelyn, so please, run, my dad said, the glowing of his eyes dimming to a faint glimmer. So I did just that. I ran and ran until my legs couldn't move anymore. I came back to the house a while later to try and see if they were still alive. But they were gone, and the whole house had been trashed. Anne was the second human I ever entrusted, and I thought she would be the last. I have long learned the art of hiding in the darkness. I live in the outskirts of a small, secluded town, far from anyone who would want to harm me. But even in slight safety, I still can't escape the weight of my secret. The thick brown hair that falls over my left eye isn't just a shield from the world, but a veil that hides my biggest fear. My right eye is a deep blue, ordinary by all accounts, but my left eye, beneath the layers of hair, is anything but. It is golden with a slitted pupil that glimmers brightly, the mark of the serpents. The power within my eye was why the war had been started. A man seeking to conquer the world with the power of the serpents. And when they refused to be controlled, he unleashed a huge war. The prophecy that drove the war was simple but horrifying. A girl with the eye of the serpent will be the key to ultimate power. She must be found and her eye brought to the one who will rule. My parents had been killed trying to protect me from that very fate. I shuffled into town with what little money I'd managed to find left on the ground. I bought an apple to go with my dinner. I walked carefully into an alley with my prize clutched tightly when I heard two men talking. "I've heard rumors that the girl's nearby," one gruff voice said. "Yeah, well, I doubt it. Nothing ever happens here. That's why us two were sent here to patrol since we just started," a light voice said. Then I saw a gruff-looking guy and a gruff-looking girl walk past me, likely the owners of the two voices. I then went back to the forest. "Oh no, they're finally gonna find me. I know it," I thought as I looked for the place I hid my meal. After climbing a tree, I finally found my deer on top. Time to eat! I started to munch away on my apple and deer meat when I heard a sound. It sounded like a child wailing, but much louder. "What's that horrible sound?" I thought to myself. And after I finished off half the deer meat and half the apple, I climbed down. Okay, I'm going to find where that noise was from, I thought. Slowly I edged toward the noise, and it stopped suddenly. I ran to the spot I heard the noise, no longer caring how much noise I was making. Then I found a clearing with a house in the middle of it, but the whole front wall was ripped off. The contents of the house, papers, books, and clothes, were strewn everywhere, as if a tornado ran through the house, then dumped it upside down and called it good. But there was one small spot that was untouched by the chaos. I shuffled over to it and noticed a small boy on the floor. He looked like he was around 8. I looked around for his parents since they were likely nearby, but there's no one else to be seen. I decided to study the area around the boy closely. I reached my hand out and found it like sticking my hand in water. It was freezing cold. Retracting my hand from the space, I noticed the boy was waking. "Mom, Dad," he said groggily as though waking from a long nap, and his eyes caught mine, and I was shocked to find that both of his eyes were like my left eye, slitted. "You're not my mom or dad," he said bluntly as he examined me. "Yeah, where are your parents?" I said. I think they've been taken to the palace. They were part of a..." "Never mind," the boy said. "Part of a what?" I asked him. "Nothing," he said quickly. "Look, you can trust me," I said, pulling back the hair over my eye. The boy stared at my eye for a while, his jaw gaping open. "An underground rebellion against the war and the so-called king," he said, then finally seemed to see the destruction all around us. "I'm Evelyn," I said. "I'm Lucas," he said. And then he walked to the corner of the room and started pushing on the wall. I thought the wall was going to collapse. I was about to tell him when a hole in the wall opened. "You might want to meet the others," he said before he disappeared into the staircase. "What others?" I shouted after him. "The group of people in the rebellion," Lucas shouted back at me and walked into the seemingly endless staircase.